One of the biggest prerequisites to becoming a decent fighter is also being a fantastic trash talker. You can be a superb fighter, but for glory, you need the biggest fights, and you don't get them if you can't trash talk your way through them. That's the case with KSW's Jason Wilnis, who hasn't given up on facing two of the biggest UFC names in the future. Let's take a look. First up, Jason Wilnis' insane record. Not many fighters can boast a record similar to Jason Wilnis. In fact, many don't even land fights against Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira, both, let alone win them. So there's definitely something special about Jason Wilnis. His legacy is enough to rank him among the best wrestlers in the world, even if he isn't fighting for the biggest promotion, the UFC, just yet. While Wilnis says he isn't a big talker, don't mistake it for his humbleness, because he simply means that he's already done those things. The former Glory middleweight kickboxing champion has 2 wins over the current star of the UFC, Alex Pereira. Those wins didn't come in an MMA battle, but rather were the result of kickboxing. But that doesn't mean Wilnis can't translate his record in the MMA. Wilnis also has a tremendous knockout win over Israel Adesanya, one which went absolutely viral for the brutal KO, and he added that he's got a win over Joe Schilling too. He didn't forget to mention that Schilling has 1 win over him too, so that shows Wilnis is humble after all. He's got the credentials, and he's got the history, but can the 31-year-old transfer that success into the MMA? Can Wilnis be successful in the MMA? He definitely thinks so. The Dutch fighter explained how he doesn't want to follow in the footsteps of Pereira and Adesanya, but he understands that the comparisons will always be drawn, especially considering that their journeys have been very similar after both of them made their switch to MMA after successful kickboxing careers, just like Wilnis has done. And to top it all off, he's already got a couple of MMA wins under his belt now. He won his first 2 fights in the MMA, then lost to Radosław Paczewski, but that won't stop his quick rise. Paczewski was a big ask, considering he's unbeaten and has been in the MMA for a longer time than Jason Wilnis. He's still fighting the KSW 70, and that's the right thing for him. The Dutch fighter has a lot of big ambitions, and if he wants them fulfilled, he'll need to translate his dominance from kickboxing into MMA, and then eventually look to land a contract with the UFC. Plus, with his credentials, that shouldn't be hard to do because not many people can claim to have wins over 2 of the biggest names in the UFC. Next, Wilnis' experience in the MMA. Many kickboxers have enjoyed a lot of success in the MMA and continue to do so, even now. Wilnis believes he's got the perfect springboard for success, and the Psycho has got the ideal style to guarantee success in the big league. He's got a ferocious striking style and has been working very hard to improve the other parts of his game that'll allow him to successfully nail this switch. The biggest challenge is facing different types of fighters in the MMA with a variety of styles, and if you're one-dimensional, you can struggle a lot. All of that hasn't stopped Wilnis from enjoying the MMA experience, and he pointed out how he had to learn wrestling, grappling, fighting off the cage, and fighting off the back from the very basics. As we explained, there are so many facets to fighting in the MMA, you need to have a combination of skills if you want to be successful in the long run, and that's the very thing on Wilnis' agenda. He explained the differences, like the lower and wider stances in the MMA, and how the combinations are more individual and not very large. It seems that Psycho has been studying the MMA closely and has been putting in the hard yards in training as he looks to improve his form and skill level before calling out the greats. That won't be an issue if he stays on this trajectory, because Dana White will soon be ringing him with a contract ready. You don't have to tell the UFC about the potential of such fights, especially when there's not even much need for trash talk considering the backstory is already there. And now, Wilnis, anxious to show off his abilities. When you possess a certain skill, you really want to show it off, and that's exactly the case of Jason Wilnis. He's realized that he has a decent skill set to make it in the MMA, and even likened it to his former rival, Israel Adesanya. Psycho even complimented Adesanya's striking style, and explained how that has been the key to his rise to becoming the best pound-for-pound fighter in the sport. Wilnis believes he's got exactly the same style, and that could translate into a similar level of success for him. He was also quick to point out that Adesanya's skill set suited MMA more, and that's why he's been so successful so far. Wilnis knows that just kickboxing in the MMA isn't sufficient to make you successful, and he knows what to expect as he slowly learns the craft and gets more confident in his own striking. This clearly shows he's a long way off from challenging the very best, but he's using it as a motivation rather than something to bring him down. The recent defeat to Paczewski definitely would have hurt Wilnis, but he remains committed as he's got his eyes set on the UFC and potentially crossing paths with players he made light work of in the past. Now, in other news, Adesanya apologizes to coach. Israel Adesanya really needs a fight. He hasn't fought since February, and the 3rd of July simply can't come fast enough for the last stylebender. While he quashed the rumors about hitting a nurse, now the news surrounding Adesanya is about his head kick, which almost knocked out his coach, Carl Van Roon. The duo has been working together preparing the Nigerian for his title defense against Jared Cannonier, but a video went viral of the hard hitter almost making contact with the back of his coach's head in training. One thing's for sure, had that contact been made, Van Roon would have been knocked out. Lights out and good night from Auckland. Luckily, Adesanya Adesanya missed and was quick to apologize. Whew, who knew coaching fighters would be such a tough job? We're kidding. Adesanya will be returning to middleweight and will be defending his title. He remains unbeaten in the division and could attempt another jump to light heavyweight if he's successful in defending his title, because he seems to be running out of opponents at this level. Next, Wilnis Zhang criticizes Rose Namajunas' performance. Even though the Namajunas-Esparza fight was more than 2 months ago, the criticism of that underwhelming fight has still been coming in. This time, the performance from Rose Namajunas was criticized by fellow UFC fighter Wilnis Zhang, who believes that she was only looking to take care of her belt and didn't want to fight hard. Frankly speaking, we don't disagree, as it was one of the worst main card events in the history of the UFC. At the same time, it's also a little unfair to keep blaming Namajunas for it. Anyone who watched the fight could clearly see that she was being held back by her partner and co-coach Pat Barry, while the other coach begged her to be more aggressive. Either way, this indecision cost Namajunas the fight and her title, as Carla Esparza became the strawweight champion. It's been a long time since the fight, and people need to move on. We mean, honestly, Esparza's even gotten married since the fight, and losing her championship title is punishment enough for Namajunas. Lastly, VeChain and UFC announced global marketing partnership. VeChain has become the official Layer 1 blockchain partner of the UFC, as UFC looks to expand its horizons in the digital world. It's a superb deal for both sides, as VeChain will provide an unprecedented level of integration into key UFC assets, which will range from live events, other major broadcasting features, in-arena promotion, etc. On the other hand, the UFC has a far-reaching global footprint, and VeChain will have a lot of meaningful brand visibility in more than 900 million TV households and 175 countries that receive UFC broadcasts. It's a $100 million marketing deal, and it will include lots of benefits for the UFC fighters and athletes, which have been included in the package agreed between the two companies. As for the duration of the contract, it's reportedly set to span over 5 years and will be the first of its kind, and many more will definitely be following suit, not only in the world of UFC, but also in other sporting events and leagues globally. VeChain has already established some major partnerships that include Walmart, Bayer, BMW Group, BYD Auto, LVMH, and many more. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Jason Wilnis could defeat Adesanya or Pereira in the MMA? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.